In a noisy world where everyone is shouting for attention, validation, and approval, let me tell you this, the loudest voice is often the most lost. Today, I want to show you the untouchable power of stillness, why silence and self-focus aren't signs of weakness, they are weapons of success. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, everything that is meant for you will chase you down. You don't have to chase, beg, or prove. You only need to grow. Your silence is strategy, not weakness. Your silence is not a weakness. It is a strategy. It is the mark of someone who has grown beyond the need to prove, explain, or defend themselves to anyone who doesn't understand their vision. When you start walking in purpose, you begin to realize that not every comment needs a reply, not every insult deserves a reaction, and not every person deserves access to your energy. Silence, when it is chosen with wisdom, becomes your greatest weapon. Because while others are making noise, seeking attention, and chasing validation, you are building in the shadows, sharpening your vision, and preparing for something that cannot be ignored when it is revealed. Think about a chess game. The best players don't talk, they plan. Every move is calculated. Every silence is full of thought. This is how your life must be when you know your value. You don't need to announce your next step when you're truly focused. Some people talk about what they're going to do so much that they never actually do it. But silence protects momentum. It keeps people guessing and keeps you grounded. In life, you'll realize that the more you talk, the more you expose yourself. And the more you expose, the more people try to interfere. The moment you open your mouth to share something sacred with people who don't carry your same spirit, you invite unwanted opinions, criticism, and doubt. That's why you must learn the difference between visibility and vulnerability. Just because something feels exciting doesn't mean it should be shared. There are people around you who are not clapping, they're calculating, waiting to hear what you say next so they can find a way to limit, copy, or sabotage it. Your silence isn't running. It's protecting your mind. It's saying, I don't need to convince you of anything because I know what I'm becoming. Look around at nature. The seed doesn't make noise underground. The tree grows silently. Even the sun rises each morning with no noise, but its impact is undeniable. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. Real growth happens in silence. Real transformation doesn't scream. It simply shows up different one day. In your daily life, think about the times you've reacted out of pressure. Maybe someone said something that got under your skin and you lashed back. But did that make you feel better or more drained? Did it elevate you or distract you? Most of the time, reacting emotionally costs you more than staying quiet ever will. Silence gives you power over the moment. It says, I am not your puppet. You don't control my peace. When people try to belittle you, when they doubt you, when they underestimate you, let them. Let them talk while you keep building. Let them laugh while you keep learning. Let them criticize while you keep creating. The truth is, no one can argue with results. And when your results show up, they won't need your voice to explain them. They'll speak on their own. One of the most powerful decisions you can make is to stop defending your greatness to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. Silence is not about holding your tongue out of fear. It's about knowing that your energy is sacred and not everyone deserves access to it. You don't have to show up to every argument you're invited to. Some invitations are distractions wearing the mask of confrontation. Don't take the bait. Even in relationships, silence is golden. You don't need to always explain your worth. You show it. People respect mystery more than they respect noise. There's something magnetic about a person who moves in silence. It says, I don't need to prove my value because my presence already speaks for me. And don't mistake your silence for invisibility. You are not being overlooked, you are being developed. You are not being ignored, you are being refined. There's a difference between being hidden and being buried. When you are buried, you are forgotten. When you are hidden, you are protected. Protected from premature exposure, from criticism you're not ready for, from expectations you haven't yet matured into. Stay in the quiet, master your craft, build your character, refine your habits, because when the world sees you, they won't understand how you got so strong, so wise, so disciplined. And the truth is, it happened in silence. In the mornings, no one saw you grinding. In the nights when everyone else was out partying and you were learning, building, healing. In the days when they thought you were doing nothing, but you were doing everything that mattered. That's the power of silence. It gives birth to strength that noise can never duplicate. So the next time someone underestimates you, smile. You don't need to speak. Let them believe what they want, because while they're talking, you're transforming. And transformation doesn't need validation. It only needs discipline, direction, and silence. Purpose flourishes in solitude, purpose flourishes in solitude, because that is where distractions die and clarity is born. Solitude is not loneliness, it's alignment. It's where your true voice begins to echo louder than the noise of the world. It's where you stop listening to the expectations of others and start listening to the whisper of your own destiny. The world teaches you to constantly be around people, to be seen, to stay relevant. But relevance without purpose is just noise, and noise without direction is just wasted potential. There's something sacred about choosing to step back, to separate yourself, to sit in silence and reflect. Because in solitude, you don't just find answers, you find yourself. Most people fear being alone because they've never learned how powerful it is to sit with their own thoughts. But ask yourself, how can you hear your calling if you're constantly surrounded by voices telling you who to be, how to act, and what to chase? Greatness isn't found in crowds. It's discovered in quiet corners where nobody is clapping, where nobody is watching, and yet you choose to keep going. That's solitude. That's growth. That's where purpose is planted. Think of the butterfly. Before it ever flies, it spends time in complete isolation, wrapped in a cocoon. No one sees it. No one celebrates it. And from the outside, it looks like nothing is happening. But on the inside, transformation is taking place. Strength is forming. Wings are developing. That is solitude, unseen progress that prepares you for public purpose. People want to soar like eagles, but they're afraid of the nest. They want influence without intimacy with their own soul. They want success without separation. But you cannot build something eternal while constantly being pulled by the temporary. Let's talk real life. Imagine someone trying to write a powerful, life-changing book, but they keep answering every phone call, checking every notification, and running to every social event. The book will never be written, not because they lack the talent, but because they lack the stillness. The most impactful work you'll ever do is internal. It's the process no one sees, the decisions no one understands, the seasons no one applauds. You don't write your story in the spotlight. You write it in silence. Solitude teaches you discipline. It teaches you what really matters. It teaches you how to feed your soul without needing outside validation. In solitude, you become your own source of fire. You don't need constant cheering because you've built internal conviction. You wake up not because someone is watching, but because your vision refuses to let you sleep. That's the kind of power that only solitude gives you. Daily life is full of distractions, notifications, opinions, news, trends. It never ends. And if you're not careful, you'll wake up one day and realize you've been living a life built by distractions, not decisions. That's why solitude matters. It's the pause button that lets you ask, is this even what I want? Because chasing a goal someone else gave you is the fastest way to end up empty. But when you get alone, truly alone, you start cutting off what's unnecessary and building what's essential. You find clarity not through chaos, but through quiet. When you sit in solitude, you confront things you've been running from, the pain you never processed, the dreams you buried, the truths you denied. But that confrontation leads to liberation. You can't fix what you avoid. You can't grow through what you're not willing to face. And the crowd won't help you with that. They'll distract you from it. That's why solitude is not just about finding your gift. It's about healing your soul so you can carry your gift without breaking under its weight. There's something about waking up early before the noise of the world kicks in and just sitting with your thoughts. No phone, no music, just your mind, your heart, and your vision. That's when you begin to hear what life has been trying to tell you all along. You already have everything you need. Now focus. Purpose doesn't shout, it whispers. And if your life is too loud, you'll miss it every time. Don't be afraid of that space where it's just you. That's where alignment begins. That's where habits are built. That's where decisions are made that change the next 10 years of your life. Solitude is where your goals stop being hype and start becoming habits. You wake up, and instead of talking about discipline, you do it. Instead of dreaming about change, you build it. All because you had the courage to step back and lock in. Purpose does not chase applause. It chases assignment, and assignment is found in stillness, not spotlight. The tree that bears the most fruit had to dig its roots the deepest, and it dug in silence. There's no crowd clapping for roots. There's no social media posts for private breakthroughs. But without those roots, there is no strength, and without solitude, there are no roots. Some of the most purpose-driven people you will ever meet are not the ones who always talk. They're the ones who withdrew, refined themselves, and came back with something that couldn't be ignored. People will think you're missing out. But what you're really doing is tapping in. They'll think you're falling behind. But what you're really doing is getting ahead in ways they can't see. Because while they're caught up in being seen, you're locked in becoming something too powerful to be ignored. Maturity is measured by what you don't react to. Maturity is not about age. It's about awareness. It's about reaching a point in your life where your peace matters more than your pride, where your goals matter more than your grudges, and where your energy becomes too expensive to waste on things that don't build you. You'll know you're maturing when you stop reacting to everything. When you no longer feel the need to clap back, argue, or prove yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. That is power. That is growth. That is emotional mastery. Because anyone can react, but not everyone can remain composed when their character is tested. You've probably experienced moments when someone disrespected you, insulted you, or tried to drag you into their chaos, and everything in you wanted to respond. You felt your heart racing, your hands tightening, your voice ready to rise. But something within you whispered, let it go. It's not worth it. That whisper, that restraint is a sign of maturity, because you begin to understand that not every comment requires a comeback, not every opinion deserves your attention, and not every situation is worthy of your energy. The truth is, people will try to bait you into reacting so they can distract you from your progress. They know they can't stop you, so they try to slow you. They want to pull you down to their level because they can't reach yours. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your strength fighting battles that have no reward, arguing with people who have no vision, and defending yourself in rooms you were never called to enter. But when you're mature, you don't fall for the trap. You protect your energy like your life depends on it, because it does. Think about driving. When someone cuts you off, your instinct is to honk, yell, speed up, or confront. But have you ever just smiled, exhaled, and kept driving? That's maturity, because you realize that one moment of reaction could cause you hours or even a lifetime of regret. In life, maturity means thinking long-term. It means asking yourself, if I respond to this, what will it cost me? And most of the time, the cost is your peace, your focus, or your momentum. Maturity is recognizing that silence is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's knowing when to speak and when to stay still, when to fight and when to walk away. And walking away isn't always surrender. It's strategy. It says, I value my mission too much to waste time on nonsense. You start to realize that your reaction is a choice. No one can force you to be offended. No one can force you to argue. They can throw the bait, but you don't have to bite. In relationships, you'll know you're maturing when you stop needing to have the last word. When you stop trying to fix people who aren't ready to grow. When you stop trying to convince people to see your worth. You don't need external validation when you have internal conviction. You don't need to chase love when you've already found self-respect. That's maturity, understanding that some things are not personal, they're just projections. People react from their own pain, their own insecurities, their own limitations. And it's not your job to carry their burden. It's your job to guard your spirit. You've seen it before. Maybe a coworker gossips about you. Maybe a friend betrays your trust. Maybe a family member constantly criticizes your every move. And the old you would have reacted. The old you would have exploded, exposed them, or tried to explain yourself. But now, you choose peace, not because you're weak, but because you've got too much purpose to waste time proving yourself to people who aren't even on your level. Yeah. Even in success, maturity is required. Because when you begin to rise, people will talk. Some will love you. Others will envy you. Some will support you. Others will try to stop you. But if you react to everything, you'll lose momentum. Let them talk. Let them assume. Let them misunderstand. Maturity is staying silent when you could easily silence them. It's choosing dignity over drama, peace over pettiness, and wisdom over warfare. Every time you choose not to react, you're investing in your destiny. Every time you remain calm under pressure, you're mastering your emotions. Every time you walk away from chaos, you're walking toward clarity. And clarity is power. Because when your mind is clear, your decisions are sharp, your vision is focused, and your future becomes unstoppable. You don't need to match people's energy. You need to protect your own. That's maturity. You don't need to respond to shade when you're standing in your own light. That's maturity. You don't need to correct every false narrative about you when you're busy creating a legacy that will speak for itself. That's maturity. It's not what happens to you that defines you. It's how you choose to respond. Or better yet, how you choose not to respond. Growth is personal before it becomes public. Growth is personal before it becomes public. The most powerful transformations in life don't start on a stage. They start in silence. They begin in private moments of struggle, reflection, self-doubt, and breakthrough that no one else sees. The world is addicted to highlights, flashy moments of success, applause, recognition. But what they don't show you is the grind behind the glory. What they don't capture are the mornings you wake up with no motivation, yet you still push forward. The nights you cry, question, pray, plan, and keep going even when nothing seems to be working. That's where real growth lies. Nobody claps for you when you decide to break a toxic habit. No one cheers when you choose not to respond to disrespect. There are no fireworks when you discipline yourself to wake up early, hit the gym, read the book, or walk away from the familiar in order to build something unfamiliar but better. Yet those decisions, the quiet, daily decisions, are what create a life that demands applause later. Growth is not an event, it's a process, and it doesn't require permission, validation, or even visibility. It just needs consistency. You don't need an audience to change. You need accountability with yourself. That's why personal growth often feels lonely. It's meant to be. It strips you of codependency, teaches you to trust your intuition, and demands that you confront the parts of yourself you've ignored. That confrontation is where the transformation begins. It's messy, it's uncomfortable, it's real, but that's how you grow. Because if you keep avoiding the truth about yourself, you'll keep building a life that looks good to others, but feels empty to you. You ever see someone glow up out of nowhere? Suddenly they're confident, focused, successful, and everyone starts asking, where have you been? But what people don't realize is They've been grinding in silence. They've been healing, learning, unlearning, evolving. They've been battling thoughts, demons, and cycles that would have destroyed them in the past. They've been sowing in private what they're now harvesting in public. That's the formula. Growth is underground before it becomes undeniable. Like a seed, before it breaks the surface, it's taking root. It's pushing through dirt, through pressure, through darkness. And the deeper the roots, the taller the rise. Daily life will test your growth. That co-worker who pushes your buttons, that family member who doubts you, that moment when the old version of you wants to snap, but the new version says, we're better than that now. That's growth. Not loud, not flashy, but powerful. Quiet victories that only you know about. Choosing discipline over distraction. Choosing forgiveness over bitterness. Choosing focus over validation. That's the kind of growth that sustains success. Because if your character doesn't grow, your achievements will crush you. Imagine someone going to the gym, but never posting about it. No selfies. No day one videos. Just sweat, soreness, and sacrifice. Then one day, months later, people see them and say, wow, you look amazing. What have you been doing? But they don't realize it's not what they've been doing. It's what they've been becoming. Growth was never about being noticed. It was about becoming someone you're proud of even when no one else is watching. You don't need to announce every step. You don't need to explain every move. You don't need to broadcast your healing, your elevation, or your decision to go silent and focus. The right people will see the fruit. And those who don't were never meant to understand the root. Protect your process. The personal work you're doing will show up in every area of your life later. Your relationships, your discipline, your finances, your peace of mind. You grow when you choose to stop blaming others and start taking responsibility. You grow when you start asking, what can I learn from this? Instead of, why is this happening to me? You grow when you stop chasing closure and start creating clarity within. And yes, people may not understand this version of you. They might say you've changed. And they're right, you did, because staying the same in a broken system with a broken mindset in a broken cycle is the fastest way to remain average, and you weren't born for average. Sometimes your personal growth will offend people who were comfortable with your past. They'll try to guilt you for setting boundaries, for raising your standards, for moving differently. But that's okay. Your growth is not a group decision. It's not a community vote. It's not a popularity contest. It's personal. It's between you and the higher version of yourself you were born to become. So when you feel unseen, misunderstood, or even overlooked during your journey, don't panic. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. You're not being ignored. You're being incubated. Some of your most essential breakthroughs will come in the dark because diamonds aren't formed in the spotlight. They're formed under pressure in hidden places where no one is watching. That's where your brilliance begins. That's where your growth gains strength. That's where your future self is being shaped right now. Mastery requires hidden seasons. Mastery requires hidden seasons. Seasons where nobody knows your name, where nobody applauds your effort, where there's no spotlight, no platform, no praise, just discipline, pain, and a deep commitment to becoming. This is the part people don't talk about, the years it takes to build what others call overnight success. Everyone sees the fruit, but few understand the root. And it's in the hidden seasons that the root system grows. If you don't develop in secret, you'll collapse in public. It is what you do when no one is watching that determines who you become when everyone is. Think of a musician practicing their instrument alone in a dimly lit room while the rest of the world is sleeping. Hours of repetition, of failed notes, of frustration, of starting over. Nobody claps for the practice. Nobody shares the rehearsal. But the day they stand on stage and deliver a performance that moves hearts, the crowd thinks it's talent. No, it's mastery. And mastery was shaped in silence, behind the scenes, in the shadows. The same applies to life. Whether you're building a business, writing a book, changing your mindset, healing your trauma, or learning to lead, your hidden seasons are what qualify you for public responsibility. We live in a world obsessed with exposure. Everyone wants to be seen. Everyone wants to go viral. Everyone wants to be celebrated. But there is danger in premature exposure. If your character hasn't caught up with your gift, the very thing you prayed for will become the weight that breaks you. That's why hidden seasons are not punishments, they're preparation. The silence is shaping your sound. The isolation is strengthening your insight. The obscurity is building your foundation. Because a shaky foundation can't support a tall destiny. Have you ever seen a skyscraper under construction? For months, it looks like nothing is happening, just holes, fences, and dirt. But they're not building up yet, they're digging deep. Because the higher the building, the deeper the foundation must go. People pass by and say, why is this taking so long? But the engineers, you can't rush greatness. You can't skip foundation work. Because when the storms come, and they always do, it's not how pretty the building looks that matters. It's how deep the roots run. Your life is no different. That's why you can't despise your quiet season. You may feel overlooked right now, underestimated, ignored. But let me tell you, your silence is not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of setup. You're in the workshop of destiny. While others are performing, you're perfecting. While they're competing, you're cultivating. And when the time is right, when your moment comes, you won't have to beg for a seat at the table. You'll be the table because you built something solid when no one else was looking. The problem with rushing out of the hidden season is that you show up unready. You get the opportunity, but not the stamina. You get the stage, but not the strength. You get the followers, but not the focus. And then you crumble, not because you're not gifted, but because you skip the grind. Hidden seasons are where you develop the mental muscle to handle pressure, criticism, responsibility, and leadership. They teach you how to clap for yourself when nobody else is clapping, how to stay consistent when no one is complimenting, how to stay faithful to your calling even when it feels like no one is listening. Have you ever watched an athlete train when there's no crowd? That's when you see what they're really made of. Sweat pouring, muscles burning, mind battling, fatigue, and yet they keep going, not for applause, not for cameras, but for mastery. That's where champions are made, in the quiet, in the repetition, in the boredom, in the discipline of doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. Your hidden season is your training ground. It's where habits are formed, where vision is refined, where ego is broken, where endurance is built. Because when you finally emerge, when the world finally sees what you've been working on, it's too late for them to stop you. Why? Because you've already been tested in the dark. You've already fought your inner battles. You've already built without applause. You've already walked through fire and came out with strategy, with scars, and with something to say. Think about a caterpillar. It doesn't transform in the summer. It wraps itself in a cocoon. A dark, tight, lonely place. No one sees what's happening inside, but something miraculous is taking place. A total transformation. And when it breaks free, it no longer crawls. It flies. That's what your hidden season is doing. It's not burying you. It's building you. It's not suffocating you. It's shaping you. You're not stuck. You're in a cocoon. And the pressure, the silence, the solitude, it's all part of your becoming. Don't be so quick to rush into visibility, because what you build in secret is what sustains you in success. Mastery takes time. It takes silence. It takes unseen hours of focus, of repetition, of sacrifice. And when it's your time to shine, you won't just perform. You'll radiate. You'll command the room, not because you practiced the pose, but because you lived the process. What you attract is a reflection of who you become. What you attract is not random. It's a mirror. Life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you who you are. If you want to attract peace, you have to become peace. If you want respect, you have to carry yourself with dignity. If you want loyalty, you must first become loyal to your values, your standards, your boundaries. People often chase blessings, chase opportunities, chase relationships, but they forget the most powerful magnet you possess is your mindset. You don't attract what you wish for. You attract what you align with. You attract what you believe you deserve deep in your subconscious, not what you beg for on the surface. Look at your life like a reflection. If your circle is chaotic, you have to ask yourself, what part of me is tolerating, inviting, or enabling this chaos? If the relationships in your life drain you, disrespect you, confuse you, pause and reflect you, what is it in me that keeps accepting this treatment? Sometimes your energy teaches people how to treat you more than your words do. If you carry yourself like someone who has no standards, people will test you like someone with no limits. But if you walk with clarity, with quiet confidence, with an energy that says, I know who I am, you shift the room without saying a word. Think of a thermostat. It doesn't just measure the temperature, it sets it. That's how your inner world works. You're not just reacting to life, you're regulating it. If you are full of anxiety, you attract confusion. If you are full of bitterness, you attract betrayal. But if you are full of purpose, peace, and presence, you begin to draw people, opportunities, and environments that reflect your frequency. It's not magic, it's mindset. The law of attraction is not just about thinking positive, it's about becoming aligned. It's about your habits, your standards, your routines, your self-respect. Have you ever seen someone glow differently when they start healing, when they start working out, journaling, praying, meditating, waking up early, drinking water, protecting their peace? Suddenly, they're not chasing anymore. Suddenly, people are drawn to them. Opportunities find them because there's something magnetic about alignment. When your soul is in order, life starts to respond. It's like you move from begging to becoming, from hoping to holding, from waiting to walking in it. And yes, this also applies to relationships. So many people are waiting for the right one, but refuse to become the right one. You say you want someone mature, but are you emotionally mature? You say you want someone consistent, but is your own life built on consistent habits? You say you want a powerful partner, but are you building a powerful life? You can't attract what you haven't prepared for. You don't get a king or queen mindset with peasant preparation. You can't ask for someone who's whole if you're still showing up in pieces. It's the same with success. You don't attract abundance with a poverty mindset. You don't attract leadership by avoiding responsibility. If you want to lead, you must first learn to serve. If you want wealth, you must first learn to manage what you already have. If you complain about your current resources, you disqualify yourself from greater. Because what you attract increases with what you manage well. And life pays attention to what you're faithful with. Think about a garden. You don't plant weeds and expect roses. You don't pour in poison and hope for beauty. You attract what you nurture. If you're constantly speaking negativity over your life, you're watering destruction. If you constantly entertain drama, you're feeding the roots of dysfunction. But if you begin to speak life, if you begin to prune your mindset, clean your environment, and plant seeds of growth, you will, without fail, start to attract what reflects that. And here's the truth, not everyone will like the version of you that begins to align. When you start raising your standards, some people will fall away. When you stop chasing and start choosing, some people will say, you've changed. And they're right, you did. Because what you used to attract no longer satisfies your evolved self. That's not arrogance, that's awareness. You realize your energy is expensive and you only invest it where there's mutual growth, peace, and purpose. Alignment also brings divine timing. You stop forcing things. You stop begging for doors to open. You walk in your lane and the right doors begin to unlock automatically. Why? Because now your energy matches the next level. You're not faking it, you're walking in it. You're not manipulating the outcome. You're manifesting it by becoming. You attract divine connections, ideas, breakthroughs, not because you chased them, but because you cultivated the character to carry them. Daily life proves this principle. Have you ever noticed when you're in a bad mood, everything seems to go wrong? Traffic feels worse, people irritate you faster, nothing flows. But when your mind is calm, your heart is full, and your spirit is aligned, things begin to click. That's not a coincidence, that's resonance. Energy doesn't lie. And the frequency you vibrate on will always invite things that agree with it. So focus less on fixing the world and more on forming yourself. You're not stuck, you're out of sync. And the moment you begin to rise internally, your external world cannot help but shift to reflect it. You'll begin to attract people who see your value without you having to prove it. You'll attract environments that nourish your growth, not starve it. You'll attract peace because you are peace. You'll attract power because you've walked through pain and didn't let it corrupt you. You'll attract love because you've become the kind of person who loves themselves deeply and refuses to settle for anything less. So now you've heard it. Focus on yourself, stay silent, and allow everything meant for you to find you, because it will. It always does, but only when you stop chasing noise and start building value. You see, your silence is not weakness, it is strategy. Your discipline is not boring, it is sacred. Your solitude is not isolation, it is preparation. The louder the world gets, the more powerful it becomes when you decide to move in silence, because power never announces itself. It just arrives and changes everything. Real growth doesn't make noise. Trees grow silently. Diamonds are formed in pressure deep beneath the surface. And eagles don't flap around with pigeons. They soar alone high above the chaos. You don't need to post every win. You don't need to explain your every move. You don't owe anyone access to your process. Some things are better protected in private. There's a sacred power in moving without the validation of crowds. Learn to clap for yourself in the dark, to train when no one's watching, to heal without putting your pain on display. That is where true mastery is formed. You don't rise by chance, you rise by choice. You rise by becoming so focused on your own lane that distractions become invisible and opinions lose their power. Success doesn't come when you want it, it comes when you're ready, and preparation happens in the quiet. You can't attract the spotlight until you've trained in the shadows. Don't rush the season you're in. Don't compare your timeline with someone else's. You're not late. You're not behind. You're being built in silence for something greater than you can imagine. Because when the time is right, what's yours will locate you like heat seeking destiny. And when it comes, you won't have to beg for it. You won't have to force it. It will fit. It will flow. Because you've become the version of you that's ready to hold it. The world will try to distract you, to make you doubt, to pressure you into becoming loud, into becoming visible before you're rooted. Don't fall for it. Be so rooted in your purpose that storms don't shake you. Be so deeply anchored in who you are that noise doesn't move you. As the saying goes, lions don't lose sleep over the opinions of sheep. You're not here to please the crowd. You're here to fulfill a calling. And purpose never bows to pressure. Your future isn't created in public. It's forged in the fire of private commitment, in the lonely hours, in the unseen effort, in the battles you win in silence. You don't need the world to clap for your progress. Let your results speak louder than your posts. Let your character outlast the hype. Let your discipline outlive the trends. Because when people see the glory, they'll wonder how, but you'll know why. You stayed consistent when it was hard. You stayed humble when it was tempting to boast. You stayed focused when distractions begged for your attention. That's power. That's royalty. If you want to shine, be willing to polish. If you want to lead, be willing to learn. If you want to attract greatness, start by respecting yourself like you already carry it. Because here's the truth the world gives to the person who knows who they are. And when you operate from that identity, you no longer chase, you choose, you no longer seek approval, you carry authority, you don't announce your worth, you embody it. So go ahead, protect your energy like it's gold, water your growth like it's a garden, build your mind like it's a fortress, and walk through this life with a quiet power that doesn't beg to be noticed but demands to be respected. Because when you focus on yourself and stay silent, you don't just attract what's meant for you, you become what you were always meant to be. And that is the loudest statement of all.